happen
in AI.
Every time I look at that cover.
Hello and welcome to this AI-generated live stream.
If only we had AI clones.
Yeah, my name is Dave and her name is Dave.
So, hi, welcome to a Friday afternoon live stream. Today we're talking about AI and photography and a lot of things because the term AI can mean a number of different things, and I think we'll sort of just generally discuss it. First of all, thank you to all of you who have already joined the live stream. Please give it a thumbs up while you're there because it keeps the stream nice and healthy. And we have to say thank you to Marvel.
Thank you, Marvel.
A good Illinois morning to you. Thank you for your coffee fund contribution. Very much appreciated. I'm going to start from the beginning, or not from the beginning, but quite early, because a few different people are thinking of different things when we talk about AI. Initially, this topic started out with us talking about the new update in Photoshop, right?
Yeah, so actually, I had an email from one and only Steve Neal, who said that, the thing came out. Mm-hmm. What do you think about it?
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, and we thought, well, actually, that's true, because we start to think about AI in general. Obviously, it's everywhere now. But to get into AI-generating content, it's not that easy. You need to know how to use Discord, how to go on, let's say, Midjourney server, how to train the bot, or like how to do a face swap and things. So it's not easy.
No.
Photoshop had a beta where you could write the commands and it would do it for you. And now all those features are implemented in the major software.
Yes.
It made me kind of think, I was like, like us old hats, we've been learning Photoshop from version 3 or something, where...
I had CS2.
Exactly. Well, no, I was way before that. I think I started with version 5. I think that was on me, so... But, you had to go through, 10 different hoops and windows to get and do one thing. Yes. And now you just do everything with a click of a thing.
Pretty much.
And it makes me think, why I had to learn those? And those youngsters, they just press the button and everything's done with it.
Sort of.
I don't like it,
Yes and no.
Exactly. But I think a lot of people think in the same way, where all those things now, first of all, I have to learn how to do those things. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise I'm going to get behind the curve or whatever, you have to jump on the latest trend. From another point of view, you're going to be it's getting too complicated. I still can't figure out how to use Twitter, and it's, X. Whatever they call it now.
The app formerly known as Twitter.
Exactly. So, and it's kind of, it's hurting my head every time I was like, so how do I use Twitter? And I still don't know.
It's true. I think that there is a certain element of unwillingness to change and adapt and learn on the part of humanity, and that's not a bad thing all the time. Mm-hmm. So with software and software developers, even social media platforms, that thing that we talk about, the algorithm, it's some big robot in the sky that determines whether or not a person sees your post or not.
So give this video a like and a subscribe if you can, because it's going to help the big algorithm, or big brother as we call it.
Big algorithm in the sky.
Exactly.
But even that, a huge amount of what the algorithm is based is kind of artificial intelligence. It's machine learning.
Yeah, so a lot of people also say the confusion in machine learning and AI generation. Well, it's all kind of, connected together, isn't it?
So, it's not necessarily, one is not synonymous with the other. So we're going to talk about everything when it comes to AI and photography. Some people will see it as a tool, and by that, so in Photoshop, for example, now they've added a few extra features. They also did something similar in Lightroom recently. In fact, Lightroom, I noticed, has been slowly but surely adding sort of, they don't call it AI powered, but they've been adding more and more intelligent detection in software, so that when you say, for example, I want to mask this subject, it will detect what the subject is.
Yeah, and it can make it disappear as well without, back in the day, you would have to do a bit of masking, right, yourself.
Lots of clone tools.
A lot of blending, a lot of feathering,
yes.
to make those things happen. And now you can literally, you draw a box around the subject. It highlights the subject straight away.
Yeah.
You click disappear and it disappears and it blends the background very nicely, and that's something that you had to learn, like I remember when I needed to do something I didn't know in Photoshop, I would have my browser open with all the guides, how to get there, step by step. I would know this, then I would go to another thing and I would learn the guide how to do this and this and this, and then that's how it would create the image. Now it's literally right in front of your face. You click a couple of buttons, it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. So you've got the photo editing element of it, and the front cover of our today's live stream was pretty much entirely generated by AI with a lot of user skill, because it wasn't like we just said we want a cover for YouTube.
Well, no, there was literally no user skill involved. I literally done it for the first time in 30 minutes.
But you had to learn what to do in 30 minutes.
I messed about with Midjourney back in the day, but just say, create a cyberpunk in the car and yada, yada. But this time I was like, okay, well, since we're talking about AI, let's create the image, and let's have our faces created in AI. Obviously, it's not realistic. It's Midjourney, so it's more like a paint and stuff.
It looked great.
Yeah, but you can create those things. And all I had to do is just, figure out how to use Discord, how to create my own server, invite 2 bots. One is Midjourney and one is the face swap.
Right.
Upload our pictures there, then create the image that I want, and then put our faces on. Right. Then I download the 2 images, I put them together in Photoshop, which had the gap in the middle, right? And then I had to then use generative AI to fill that gap and blend it together.
Yes.
And then after that, I created another Nikon camera in AI as well. But it took us about half an hour without any prior knowledge to this, which is pretty good, if you ask me. And obviously now you have a lot of those things that are in Photoshop, really. You don't even need to go to Discords anymore. And you can just type things you want.
That's right. There are apps and websites, free apps and websites for stuff like that. I mean, there are a few people clarifying. So machine learning, for example, Roy said that machine learning is letting the computer program itself by setting the parameters and then telling the machine to learn from that set of parameters. Yes, but I think that AI is being used almost like the term is being used interchangeably now.
Yeah. It's not the same thing though, No. So it says, I don't know if any of you follow Tesla, where they use machine learning to completely rework their autopilot, and they achieved more with machine learning in 4 months. They achieved over, I think, 3 or 4 years. I could be wrong on the amount of years that they've done prior to that. And that just tells you how powerful this thing is.
Yeah.
But you need to train AI to create the content, or in writing in some case, so it just it's not gonna happen without any data put in. So in a way, that's the reason why we say those things are connected while not being the same. But one of the things I was thinking about as well, let's say we talked about writing.
Yeah.
Obviously Becky is a writer. I can't write at all. I can talk a lot. I don't know if you noticed, but I can't write. When I start to write, I start to stumble. And in terms of this, I think things like ChatGPT, which is basically built into many things nowadays, I can set the parameters of bullet points I want to express, and then I let AI to write the article for me in a kind of a more long form term. So instead of, let's say, 100 words, I'll get 500 words or something like this, And then obviously I will rewrite it. But when we talk about AI as well, it's not like I'm going to just let it be like this and I'm not going to correct it. I'm still going to make it my own.
Right.
But it definitely is going to give me less headache for my use, than, let's say, for someone who can just write, and speak at the same time and do 2 things together.
So let me give you the flip side of that. As a writer, more often than not, even if an option is given to me of, use AI to refine this piece of text, and I'm not talking about my books, 0 of that is ever made using AI, but I'm just talking about if you want to put, for example, for the newsletter, we now have this thing, the software that I use to write the newsletter has an option to use AI to tweak your text, and every single time I do not like the output. And it's my personal preference, but I look at the output and I go, yeah, but that's not us.
Yeah.
So it has no human voice, and you can really feel that it's a bit generic and that it doesn't really have a soul behind it. So I think that for writing, for sure, people in the writer community, I will tell you that the subject of AI published books is a big bone of contention right now. Just like AI generated art in the artist community was flagged up very recently as incredibly problematic, just because of where AI would pull its sources from is from genuine artists' artwork.
But that's the problem. That's where the counterpoint is. A lot of artists or writers see it as their replacement.
Yeah.
How about seeing as that given tools to people who can't do it? They're not going to compete with true masters. True masters are still going to stay true masters. The person who can write is going to be better than any person who will use AI. You know, that's number one. Number two is generally, like, as I say, like the way I look at AI is, let's say if you generate text for me, I would then edit it to my own liking.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to put a bit of Eastern European, accent into it, if you see what I mean. So you're going to make it my own. And obviously, my writing is not going to be better than yours, but it gives people like me who can't write tools to create something, and not to become a best-selling artist, but to use it for certain jobs that is necessary. So like, let's say, if you look at, let's say, nowadays, like SEO is a big thing online. So you have to write a little blog articles, not really for the content, but just to be ranked on the website, and it does all the things too. But my point being is, like, artists who painters.
Yeah.
Successful painters, they'll still stay successful painters. AI won't, replicate the same art, even if you'll try to get close to it. You know what I mean? So
yes. As long as, and this is as long as people, and I'm not referring to any specific people, but just people don't allow it to take over. For example, I'm throwing in a random thing. Fortnum and Mason, for example, the coronation artwork that they had made for their tins and everything like that, absolutely beautiful. They really took pride in finding artists that would create that, and they did everything by hand. It was done really properly. And if you go onto their website, you can see the artists and their sort of thought process behind it all. In contrast, you take, for example, like the Secret Invasion intro. Did you see Marvel's Secret Invasion on Disney? Okay, it's fine. You didn't miss anything, honestly.
If you would give me a Pokemon reference, I probably would know more. I won't, but
so you know Marvel, superhero.
Yes,
right, okay, so
the Batman and the Superman.
No.
And then you go to DC Comics, and so they have the Ant-Man and the Green Guy. I'm just joking.
He knows how much it winds me up. Anyway, so the entire intro to that show was made using AI, and there was quite a lot of upset about it because they should have used an artist for that.
Yes.
And so you get these different kind of talking points on it. But Seth says he's actually AI. He doesn't exist.
Exactly.
I've never seen him outside of YouTube.
I knew it all along, actually, Seth. I told Becky the first time we spoke.
But what I also think is interesting is, like Nick earlier, I've lost his comment now, but he said rather than using it to create fantasy, I use AI to make reality a little bit more real. So for example, if you had a scene or a picture where unfortunately there was a mistiming of something and you're on a commercial shoot and you think, oh darn, I need to actually remove that man's foot.
Imagine you were where the JFK was assassinated, and you just miss it by 1 second with your camera, and then you can use AI. It's a bad example.
It's a really dark
let's
reference.
not go there. But the point is, like, and in no way I'm advocating AI.
No,
absolutely not. I think it's a question is like how you, let's say, think you may use it for your photography or for your daily life, really. But it's like we talked about previously about, like, truck drivers going across America, and probably those jobs are going to be replaced by electric trucks with autopilot.
Not for a very long time.
Not for very long, but like this is something that's being discussed, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, not to go into politics, but just an example. And obviously, everything is not set in stone.
No.
Everything is evolving.
Yeah.
And that means that AI is here to be, and it exists alongside us nowadays.
Sure.
It's a part of life. So we need to evolve in a way. So some jobs are going to be replaced, because of AI, that is true. But some other things are going to evolve. Because, like, look, as a photographer, the first DSLR came out with video, D90, yeah, and then 5D Mark II came out.
Yeah.
Suddenly, all photographers became videographers at the same time, and it was a learning process. So, as a photographer, a commercial photographer who would need to make money, a lot of them had to learn videography.
It's very true.
So those are analogies I'm having. I'm not saying that, like, it's not going to kill for the photography. It's not going to, it's not going to replace photographers. Again, top artists, actors, writers, photographers, still going to make their money, still going to be the best, But a lot of it will need, like, a lot of people would need to slightly change or evolve.
Yes, I think I kind of look at it a little bit like our second industrial revolution, in that, life... I mean, okay, this is not photography related, but life changed massively for artists in the working class and the poorer class during the time of the Industrial Revolution. And the rich were getting richer and the poor were actually getting much, much poorer.
Yeah, well, that's not going to change, unfortunately.
No, but it is interesting that you almost see like a mirror of that over 100 years later, of like, okay, there are going to be people who...
Well, now it's even worse.
Who are...
We're not getting political.
Doing 1%. A great job here of not getting political. But I just think it's an interesting parallel in history. And as a couple of people have said, like Ray said, AI is only as good as the programmer who wrote it.
Exactly.
I have to say thank you to Jean for your contribution to the Coffee Fund, and to Vince, who said, artificial intelligence, okay, but real coffee. Yes.
Yes. Real 35mm in medium format film.
That what doesn't have AI in it is film. Anyway, before we turn
what doesn't have warmth? AI.
Before we kind of go into a whole entire film chat, I will say that I think that, and this is just my viewpoint, is that humanity has been slightly, I think, obsessed with this notion of robots taking over since science fiction existed.
Yeah, but science fiction didn't exist for a very long time.
Yeah.
But
now you think, like, there's a restaurant in somewhere, I think it's in New York, where a robot can make your pizza for you.
Yeah, Seth,
it doesn't have any people.
You are an expert on New York. Is there a place with a robot that makes pizza?
I think it's New York. It might actually be Chicago, but it's one of those.
And then you can use those pizza boxes as reflectors, as Seth pointed out to us.
It's number one tip.
Exactly.
But yeah, AI is quite an emotive subject. Joy said, doesn't have a soul behind it. Is accurate. I remember reading Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. What are we creating? And I think that if we use it by a tool, but as a tool, but regulate ourselves, the problem will be the people that don't regulate themselves, really. And I've seen a lot of big video creators who obviously have some kind of affiliation with Adobe, who are now promoting, content aware fill, for example. I think that's probably the most useful tool if you go on a trip and you want a photo of a particular thing. Yeah. And somehow, I don't know whether it's like the other thing that I really don't like is, like, there's modern cars in an otherwise picturesque setting, or, a big mobile phone tower.
If you're photographing an old Americana,
the
Route 66, and you have this Peugeot Fiat 500 in there,
This is a Prius.
Exactly,
And you think, that's not really vibing.
I want a Buick,
Yeah, exactly.
Or Chevy,
Then you can do stuff like that.
Exactly.
And as you were saying, for content creators like ourselves, sometimes using AI could just help us to create our thumbnails, for example.
Yeah, we're not creating art for our YouTube channel, just so you know. This is all throwaway covers, but we're having fun.
Yeah.
And the good thing about this is that we generally decide on the topic. Well, sometimes we decide the day before, but we generally decide on the day, and obviously prepare a week before, you know. But like today we decided to do AI, and then all I did is just I went and it actually took me longer because I had to figure out how to use the Midjourney, but still half an hour. Content is created, it's gone in 1 hour, I'm not going to put it in my portfolio,
No.
But for throwaway things, it's pretty good, And as I say, I think from one point, it gives a lot of tools for people who don't know how to use it, who don't want to spend time. Imagine you're running a business or something, yes, and you're a one-man band. Maybe you just a startup, you can't hire people. Mm-hmm. And you have to do everything. You don't have money to, to have a social media person, to design or something. It gives you tools to create something that is maybe not going to be amazing, but will get you going. You can now AI generate a logo for your business, which is pretty good. Again, it creates a tool where, before you would have to spend money on this.
Yeah.
Now you may potentially build up a business to a level where you can then spend money and pay real people to do a proper job.
Yeah, exactly. Like Seth says, I use AI to take care of the dumb time-eating stuff, like the admin side of working as a pro, writing bios, faster thumbnails, etc. And I think that is tremendously important to kind of emphasize, is that if it's a time-saving thing so that you can get on with more creative endeavors, then, bring it on. I always looked at it as, AI as a tool to be used so that you can free up some attention to do the things you want to do, rather than those kind of menial tasks that you don't want to do. I would like AI to do all my cleaning and my chores for me, so that I don't ever have to pull out the Hoover. I don't have a robot Hoover.
Is it like a...
Just to clarify.
Is it like a Becky mini-me?
A little mini-me clone robot thing that can do all the chores.
Laser.
As long as it... Laser. As long as it doesn't then rebel and try and take over the house.
Well, that's the thing. It has to be a mini-me, because if it's literally your clone...
Yeah.
Then one day you disappear and no one knows anything. But if it's a mini-me, you'll know.
Yeah, it's very true. And so then... First of all, thank you very much to Randall for your
contribution. Thank you, Randall.
Fund said post office AI is still using Windows 95 for some machines. So
to be honest, I personally get the post office is operated by AI, full stop.
But
except
for the posties themselves.
Did we? Yeah, we thank Wins. Yeah,
we did. Thank Wins,
we thank
yeah.
them. Okay.
Now, but what I would say is that the question of AI images in competitions, I think that maybe it might even make competitions a little bit more rigorous in their rules.
Well, that's the thing. I think we're going through the process of these teething issues where this is very unregulated. This is Wild West at the moment in terms of what's happening.
Yeah.
And it will become heavily regulated. I don't want to compare it to crypto or something, but, those kind of things. Yes, like as a photographer...
Yeah.
I don't want a perfect picture. When I take like a rural landscape, I'm not going to get rid of the wires.
Yeah.
For me, this is part of the landscape and the scene I'm taking care of. Some people will.
Yeah.
Do I like it? I don't.
No.
But those options are there. That's the thing. And I think it's at the moment you look at it at the kind of you self-regulate yourself in a way, So, but yeah, as you say, for things like competition, I'm sure there's going to be, they were already, I think, remember there was 5 years down the road where there were some photoshopped images where the smoke was added to the image. It wasn't there originally. It's not AI generated, but, it was already an issue there. So I think AI generated images will go through that as well.
Yeah. And I think that it might end up being that when you submit your image, you have to somehow have, the kind of the log of the edits you do in Lightroom or Photoshop.
Yeah, like a history thing. Yeah.
That at the same time so that I mean, obviously there was actually an art competition that was recently won by an AI. It was like, this is actually a number one. This won the first place, and then it came out that it was generated by AI. So I definitely think those rules have to be put in there. But there are some really fascinating things that it can do that can help photographers, I would say, depending on the kind of image that you're trying to create. If you're just a hobbyist, let's say, hobbyist sounds almost impolite. If you're a very keen enthusiast, essentially not a non-professional, then obviously you can use AI to create the image that you, or not necessarily create, but adapt the image that you've already taken to make it. That's the image that I want to put on my wall. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when we're talking about removing telephone lines on your landscape so that you can.
I mean, it's interesting to see because, let's say, first of all, like this whole thing of AI generated art. What is art to start with? Because you see, like for me, I have issue with calling AI generated art. Yeah. So I would call them AI generated assets.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So that's a very fine line, which is obviously up for debate. Then, there's some artists, genuine artists that use mixed media, whether it's photography with maybe 3D modeling and things like this.
Yeah.
A lot of those things can now be generated, those 3D models via AI. Would make life easier. Let's say maybe the 3D model for the artist would take like days to create.
Yeah.
And can generate something very similar with an AI and used as a mixed media. It's not a real image.
No,
you see what I mean? It's like fantasy or something, or something like, you can, let's say, like, again, maybe if you imagine very like person with a massive imagination but can't draw things like this,
Yeah,
and I will help you to get there.
It will. It's for sure. And I know people who are artists who would use, for example, they would have no kind of qualms about creating a Pinterest board and using Pinterest as a resource for references, because they need references for their own work.
Creating storyboards for the videos or movies, like if you can't draw, you now can create storyboard.
Yeah.
Not just with stickmans, but actual drawings,
Exactly. Nightspringer, that's a really, really good point, said Adobe could just add a small signature to the metadata of an export of exported files with a little code corresponding to what AI tools were used, so that if you were submitting them to a
Put them
judge,
on a blockchain.
so then if you
make them NFTs.
so that you could then, as a judge, for example, or an adjudicator, you could see that an image was.
It depends how difficult it is to get rid of. Like, when people put the metadata as their like copyright, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then you just can copy the image, put it in Photoshop as a new image and then save it and then get rid of everything.
That's pretty unethical, though.
Well, that's the thing. But is it difficult to do? Absolutely not, if you see what I mean. So,
but you'd have to live with yourself after that.
Well, I'm not doing that.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
But trust me, there are a lot of people who do that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So I assume that it has to be within, this code has to be within some sort of image or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm talking about ones and zeros, obviously.
We
but
would also have to have, anyway. Yes. Joe said, when are you all coming to Yorkshire? You don't need to use AI to remove pylons in the Dales. We removed all electricity cables underground some years ago, which is fantastic.
Nice.
Now, also, David said, going on a 3.5-week road trip across the US in an 18-wheeler, no AI involved, just HP5 and Kodak Gold. That's what we like to hear.
And I respect that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I do. From my personal point of view, I'd say, for YouTube covers, no problem with AI.
No.
For personal photography, no.
Don't touch it.
No. It's just a simple no. There's no, I don't even need to explain it. No. In no way. I like the image I'm taking the way it is.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Exactly. And there is really interesting. So Andy said art is whatever the artist decides it is.
Absolutely.
From a pile of bricks to a white canvas to whatever has to be described as an essay.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's...
It's a personal choice. I absolutely agree with that.
And Naran wants to just throw a random Star Destroyer every once in a while in the sky of my landscape pictures. I think that's fair enough,
I think, to be honest with you,
that's fantasy art.
Whatever you want to put on your social medias and how it's created, it's entirely up to you. And respect for that, whatever you want to do. As I say, on a personal level, it's very different.
Yeah.
What you find acceptable, what's not, it's entirely up to you. An artist is an artist.
Exactly. Speaking of, someone earlier put that their wife had just finished reading The House of Lost Wives. Thank you to whoever that was, because I missed that. I've lost it in the
When's your new book coming out?
My new book is coming out on the 29th of October, and I posted the cover, which was not AI generated.
No? Should have hired me.
The book cover, which my publisher painstakingly paid a cover designer for, went live on... yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, Wednesday. Anyway, I'm very, very happy with it, and please pre-order. Thank you. That's all.
Bye now.
Anyway, that's the end of that. You can literally pre-order it from Amazon, Waterstones, WH Smith, anywhere you get your books.
Do you have your own website if they want to buy straight from you?
No. But you can come to my book signings, which I will be doing several of. So then you can just buy it.
Don't bring your pictures with you. She's there to sign books.
Don't bring photographs. Unless they're photographs.
I'd like you to see my portfolio of 100 images.
We will avoid that. We will be book signing only. I have some fun ideas for the first book signing, which is on. Yeah,
we're all going to dress up as pirates.
Yeah, no. Well, you can if you want.
Yeah, I'm going to have a hook hand.
Sure. Anyway, so as Seth said, in the end, it's up to the audience to accept it like they've adapted to phone photos. But if a movie is created by AI and no one buys tickets, they stop making AI movies, which is a very good point. It's up to us to vote on the viability. We shouldn't be afraid of it. Yeah. That's for sure. We should just accept that it's a part of our life. Somehow figure out how to deal with it. That's right. Can I put, Josh was asking for a link to my book.
Yeah, go for it.
If you literally just type in, my first book was called The House of Lost Wives. That's available everywhere, in the US as well. And The Merchant's Daughter. And bearing in mind that my nom de plume is Rebecca Hardy, which is my maiden name, you'll find them on places there. Anyway, usually in the US...
Is it The Merchant's Daughter?
Yeah, that's the new one.
That's the new one.
Usually in the US, the paperbacks don't come out until like February of next year. So you get it in the UK first.
Blood a new cover there.
For some reason, the Audible, which is what you've got by default, doesn't refresh the cover until you click on it. But when you click on it for the paperback, then it shows you the paperback.
Because I listen to my books.
Yeah. Listens to books.
Who reads nowadays? They listen.
I do, a lot.
Me too.
Anyway, so the other thing I wanted to talk about was AI in camera software, because obviously that's been thrown around a lot, but we haven't kind of addressed that. And I think that the thought again, is it machine learning or is it artificial intelligence?
Well, we're talking about the tweaking the image, isn't it?
Well, now I'm talking about to take the image. So you've
got
things
and then it's
like
being
auto
tweaked.
capture, and then you've got things like face detection, eye detection. All of that stuff is essentially it's a computer doing that.
Well, Nikon now likes to throw this machine learning things into into their press releases. So yeah, I assume so.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's, it's like, as I say, it's like any company that want to make money on the stock exchange, they say, oh, we've figured out AI, and then the stock goes up,
We've figured out. Yeah.
Nikon's like, let's throw AI into our press releases,
But then they also did the complete opposite of like, they did that campaign about not using AI.
Well, that's what Nikon does.
Yeah.
And I think they've done a really smart thing because they have addressed that niche of people who say never AI.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Roy said that matrix metering is basic AI. I mean, I think if you strip it down to the bare bones, any of that stuff is essentially a computer making a decision for you, right? I remember when I very, very first put my hands on my first Nikon camera, DSLR was a D100, and the chap that was showing me how to use it said, "Oh, don't use ISO auto; it's rubbish. Just never use it. It's just absolutely terrible."
Well, I think it was pretty bad till about D800 series.
Yeah, I don't think it was wildly intelligent. You could still set parameters of where
it would still normally shoot up higher than it needs to be. That's what I remember from those days.
Yeah, exactly. Martin says maybe you could write a book on AI and photography. Yeah. That's the book that Con's going to write using AI.
And make lots of money and become rich.
I'm joking.
And successful.
Don't do that.
Imagine the camera can AI generate a lens straight out of the mount.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be stunning? Thank you to Chris for your contribution to the Coffee Fund. And Old Ohio Angler, that was you, said we actually got the book through our local library. Wife requested it and they got it for her. Use your local library, folks. Absolutely. I am a massive fan of libraries. They are the places that dreams are created. So yes, you can also do that.
Have you ever dreamt of electric ships?
Yes.
Good book.
Dixon said Samsung's phone will download a photo of the moon when it detects your photo of the moon is poor quality. That's a bit painful.
Just go straight to NASA,
Oh, can you imagine you take a picture of the moon, it's like, I'm sorry, that's rubbish. Here's an alternative picture.
Exactly. Here you go. I can put your name on it.
That's really bad. So that is another thing that someone was recently, I think it was Jeff, who I don't know if he's watching today, but anyway, was commenting on. He said, "Oh, what's this plant?" And he sent me a picture of this plant. And actually, your phone, if you have an iPhone and probably an Android phone as well, if you swipe up, you can detect.
It's now built into your camera app.
It's built into the camera app.
Before you had to buy it on App Store.
That's right. So it will detect what the animal actually is. I guess it uses some kind of form of like Google Lens to do that.
And that's how I know that I'm old, because I didn't know those things. Like, I think from iOS 10, I'm like, my phone is good enough now.
Yeah.
I don't need to learn the new features.
Don't need to learn the new stuff. Yeah. I know all those like customize your home screens and all the different home screen options you can have and stuff. It's getting a bit much. it just encourages people to spend more time on their phones, unfortunately, is what it actually does. But what he said was, oh, my phone apparently doesn't do that because of the security and privacy settings I have on. So you have to bear in mind that all of these things come with a little price. It's like, you just have to let all your information be free for the whole world to see in order to tell what plant that is.
Hello, you TikTok users.
Joshua said, I still haven't used two D100s. Auto ISO is such a game changer in my real world work to this day. That's really interesting because I was always told keep away from it at all costs. And obviously now with the Z cameras and also with the D850, but very much with the Z cameras, for me, it's just a given. ISO auto will stay on. I've set the parameters. I don't want it to go above a certain point. So I know that whatever the shots are, I'm going to be comfortable with the ISO. I never used to do that, but I always like to choose my shutter speed and aperture manually and then let the camera figure out the ISO. Sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes it really wants to push it, and then I will just, or you're doing a landscape and you want the ISO to be intentionally low, or you're doing a long exposure. Again, you want a low ISO, but it's useful in certain situations for sure.
So are we now substituting AI for smart software?
I don't know.
Which is basically the same thing.
It is the same thing, but it's different. Like detecting what the scene is, so in order to help you take a better photo, is different to changing your entire image or generating.
No, yeah, I agree.
There are definite, clear differences.
I mean, again, we're going to start to talk about the phones versus cameras, and phones do that.
Yeah.
More often, your image straight off the phone looks much better.
Yeah.
Than the image from the camera, because camera shoots raw, yada, yada, yada. It's a, direct reproduction of the image from the sensor, and then your camera applies all sorts of tweaks and, film simulation or whatever you want to call it,
That's right. And I think that also photographers, inexperienced photographers will still say, oh, I took a picture of this. Even I have friends and relatives who do this to me sometimes. They'll say, I've got my Nikon camera or my whatever camera they've got, and then I take a picture with my iPhone, and why does it look so much better? And it's like, well, actually it doesn't,
and you should,
but it does to you.
How do you explain it? This one is already painted, and this is just a prepared canvas, which I'm going to work on and create a final piece after that.
Exactly.
It's very difficult to explain. But I think camera manufacturers should use those phone tricks for the images, because then they may sell a lot more camera equipment, to people who just want to take nice pictures and they don't care about all the raw things and technical specifications and things like this.
And I think they started that though with like the scene select.
Yeah, but they should do more. They should do it like out of the box, and then obviously they need to leave the tools for people who want to use everything manually.
Yeah.
Whatever we can call it, advanced settings.
Yeah.
And then straight out of the box, make it a very, very consumer-friendly camera, And I think that way we kind of will merge that gap and the gatekeeping of professional or, very kind of keen advanced photographers and, iPhone users or something,
Yeah.
I think the reason like young generation now shoot a lot of, let's say, Instax and things like this, because they put this thing in, they take a picture, it looks imperfect, and for them this is cool.
Yeah.
They don't need to know. I was listening to this, I think it's called Analog Talks podcast this morning on the train. And this guy, apparently he's quite big in the New York Polaroid scene, he has his exhibition and everything. He's like, I don't really know much photography, but I was shooting with my Polaroid camera for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm to the point where I'm selling my prints and, I'm having my first exhibition,
Yeah.
I think this is where there is this group of people.
Very much so.
Exactly. And, obviously it pains for me to say, oh, I know what aperture is and what shutter speed is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they can sell the equipment to these people so they can take beautiful pictures without knowing what it's doing, it's a win-win situation. And then obviously leave all the manual tools for people who need it.
Yeah.
So we can, be here sitting on a high horse and saying how smart we are with knowing what we're doing, But I think it's important to bridge that gap.
I think so too. Seth says younger kids shooting film has a lot with them trying to find honesty and transparency.
It's important.
I think that is, you've absolutely hit the nail on the head there, Seth, in terms of what they're looking for. Obviously, the key thing for us as more experienced photographers is to make it a safe a safe space for them essentially to do that. I have had new photographers many years ago who came into the shop, or who I was in conversation with, who I met because I was, walking around my camera, and they said, "Oh wow, cool camera," or whatever, who had essentially been so gatekept, don't know what the verb is there, on the subject.
Present past and perfect past.
Had so much gatekeeping done on them that they lost interest, because they felt like that photography was some exclusive club that they couldn't be part of because they didn't know enough, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's honestly ridiculous. It's the same with artists and even with writers, but I find more so that it happens with photography and art more than anything else, because you get people who have spent a lot of time on
all the marinated and seasoned photographers.
Yeah, very, very seasoned. Yeah. And that then, they kind of feel offended that someone would kind of encroach on that space and try and learn. And ask
her, what this film is called Go 200 and say, what kind of film is this?
And it's like, okay.
It's very interesting section on places like Reddit, on Reddit groups, where like very simple questions being asked, and the normal answer would be like, just Google it, right? But that nowadays is being looked at as a form of gatekeeping as well. Yeah. Because in a way you have to be welcome, because those people, they will start with the question and they'll learn. They may progress to something that we don't know, but shutting it down right at the source is not the right thing to do. So I don't know what's the solution. Maybe to have like a group, like this like a season group, whatever. You have to pass an exam to get here, on how many million pixels D1 had and when it was released. And if you don't know, then you ban.
You have to do like a mastermind level of, you're probably, I don't know if you know Mastermind. Do you know Mastermind? It was like a really famous British show where someone is going to tell me the name of the presenter. You would have your specialist subject, and they would ask you really difficult questions about that subject.
So it's not Teletubbies then?
Definitely not Teletubbies.
Okay.
And then you would have a general knowledge quiz, and then whoever kind of got, and then you had like different levels of how intelligent.
Sounds like a chase.
It kind of like the chase, but much more serious. It was like black room with just a spotlight on you, and you had to sit there and answer. I never went on Mastermind. Clive Murray. That's right. Anyway, because I remember it was like Clive would say, I've started, so I will finish.
The staple of British television that I still yet to watch is Doctor Who.
Really? Yeah. Oh, wow.
For some reason, never interested me, but I think I should fill that gap.
Yeah, just give it a go.
Yeah, why not?
As Andy says, my issue with iPhone is how large you can print the image. That's definitely an issue. If you're doing little snaps, it's fine. But I still look at the iPhone as like a happy snapping camera, although it is very capable of doing a lot more than that.
It's with you all the time.
Yeah.
How often do you carry camera with me? I mean, I try to do it every day, but let's say on my way down to grocery, I probably don't have a camera with me, but I do have my phone.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I will say, like a couple of people saying auto ISO doesn't work for me. It does depend on the subject. Like, again, like David said, on street photography, no. Wouldn't use auto ISO for street photography. I wouldn't use auto ISO for a wedding or an event, because every situation that you're going to be in is going to require different set of settings. Yeah. But if you're, let's say, going on a little photo walk, as we do quite often, auto ISO is handy when you've got a lot of things to think about.
So saying, look at American Apparel selling billions using on camera, flash, no retouch. I used to learn how to replicate American Apparel look back in the day, 10 years ago.
That's right. That is
before they went bust. But but I have a big collection. I used to go to their website and just save the photography. Yeah. And it was part of my mood board to some of the shoots I did back in the day.
Right. It was like, this is what I'm going for.
And it's basically point and shoot with a flash.
Yeah,
this is the style,
It's very in your face and like quite awkward angles also.
Try to replicate with your fancy Z8 and, bronze color or pro photo lighting, You want to go cheap instead of expensive on this one.
Right. You want to put the cheapest, dirtiest flash you can possibly get. And as I said, auto ISO is dependent on metering mode as well. Yeah, I mean, there are many factors. You're not. I wouldn't say. This is the other thing. It's like Auto ISO isn't cheating because you still have to decide so many different factors in order to make sure you get the result that you want. But
I mean, if you're going to call Auto ISO cheating, then I don't know how far we can go, really.
It's like, oh, aperture priority, that's cheating.
Having a Z8 is cheating, you know? Let's go back to Z6.
That's right. Thank you to Paul for your contribution to the Coffee Fund. And I have to also, someone said, oh yeah, Naran, okay. Thank you. AO3, I don't read AO3. This is like fanfic kind of database, if you like. Okay. AO3 has got to be invaluable just for giving people a place to write whatever and feel safe and allow them to practice. We've got a few, I mean, there's some newer platforms that I don't know, but back in the day, for me, it was Wattpad, and AO3 is a similar kind of thing. It just got riskier and riskier the further you went, because some of the stuff that people put out there is just like
things
absolutely
spicy real quick.
Oh my goodness.
Actually, quick question. How spicy is your new book?
It's like half a chili pepper.
Yeah. What is on the level of, there's a level of spiciness of the chilies,
There's five chilies. Five chilies. Five chilies is like half a chili pepper.
Okay. Well,
like the first one was half a chili. No, the first one was probably like a quarter of a chili pepper. Anyway, not spicy, clean romance. That's what I do. Fair enough.
Anyway. You mean like Red Hot Chili Peppers playing on the stage in their good old days?
That's right.
You know, just with guitars on.
I know. Even Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Well, you weren't today, guitar.
That's right.
You know.
I was going to read another comment and it's gone. It's
gone. AI erased it.
It's just like, no, not going to have it. I was going to say Magnus Magnuson. No.
Do we have AI in the chat?
Someone did say AI has entered.
Or Skynet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Night Springer said, I've been studying computational photography for a bit now, and the iPhone is rather impressive. Very little of the bokeh is real, and it's all done by algorithms after you press the button, which is very true. I think when we look at, for example, the skin softening on the Z8, that's done after you press the button. It's a post. It only outputs a JPEG, right? I don't actually remember.
I used it only once for video, and that's it. And I would never use it again.
And that was the last time. It wasn't bad. Like you could.
It was
see
okay.
The difference.
Would I use it? Probably not.
No.
You know, I would just get the cleanest raw I can get out of the camera, and then I would do my own work on it.
That's right.
Because I trust my hands.
Yeah.
Over the AI.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And it's again coming back to AI. It's how fine the result you want to get.
Yeah.
You know, because AI would give you a mishmash of average. While being true master in whatever technique you do or craft, that's what's going to make a difference. But AI will get you to what, maybe 70, 80, 90%? You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. That's where we separate the milk, like, right? So, or cream from the milk, you know.
Cream from the milk.
Yeah, so then that's where the line's going, but it's a quite fine line, you know.
Yes, and if you kind of look at every professional photographer from at least the last 5, possibly more years, that have created their photography courses, they also sell their presets. And to a certain degree, it's not AI, it's a person who's gone, this works for me, and this works for me, and this works for me. And now you're going to just apply it to all your images.
Yeah.
You know,
but to be honest with you, it's like it became such a cliche.
Yeah.
That everyone is selling their own presets.
It did become a bit of a cliche.
You know.
Obviously, if you like someone's particular look, and you want to emulate that, then I think that mimicry
spend an hour and try to try to do it yourself. See what happens. You know.
And mimicry is the highest form of flattery.
Yeah. And another thing, and if you do use preset, don't use it just like apply it and leave it. You know,
that's right.
Use it as a starting point of the look you want to get, and then fine tune it to whatever you like. You know.
Yeah, exactly. John said it's when to use AI or when to learn the process, and I think it depends on what point you are in your career, or
how much time you have,
or what your interest level is. Because if you're only sort of vaguely interested in doing a bit of photography so that you can put some nice pictures on your wall, you probably will never get to the stage where you will be able to fine tune your results. A bit like I have a couple of friends who did an art course just so that they could create some art for their homes. It's fine. They're not going to then go and...
They'll be replaced by AI now. They don't exist anymore. So, rest in peace.
But they could have gone, oh, well, I could actually just get AI to generate the painting of the mountain that I want and then get that printed.
Yeah.
But they wanted to do the process.
I mean, I spent hundreds of hours watching Bob Ross to replicate the mountains he does.
You should have.
And I still can't do it properly.
Yeah.
You know? That's where AI comes in, you know. So
Older higher angler said, many years ago when I was taking photography classes at local community colleges, the standard argument about aperture priority was you ended up with the perfectly exposed blur. Like, darn, that's not what we want. And I was going to add something to that that's now completely gone out of my head, which is excellent.
About AI, probably, yeah.
It was about AI. You distracted me with that.
The artificial intelligence.
Yeah, exactly. Nightspringer said, I will admit to having a Sony photography preset on Lightroom. It's just a shortcut to smash on some orange cyan color grading.
Yes, oranges and blues. That's it,
Yeah.
you know. All just watch all the cinema posters. It's oranges and blues.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, what were we watching the other day? Ahsoka, right? So
What?
it's a Star Wars series.
I thought you pronounced football the wrong way.
No, I think it was that we were watching, and depending on where the location was, you could really see the color grading went really hard. Like when they were in one particular place, it was very gray and bland. I don't think it was Ahsoka, actually. I think it was a film that we were watching, but I can't remember what it was. And then
Super Mario movie?
No, it wasn't that. And then in another location, everything was very orange, and the characters were just traveling between two different places, but you could really tell where they were just by the colors that were being applied, which is an interesting use of color grading.
True.
There's a bit like, I don't know if you remember when Twilight came out and there was like this Twilight preset.
Such a wrong person for this.
Did you watch all the movies?
I watched one.
You watched one. That one was enough. But you know how everyone was like very pale and looked very washed out? Not just the vampires, but the actual people. And it was like, supposed to be
the whole movie probably sucked the life out of them, you know? That's how bad it was.
Or, okay, take the color grading of a series like Peaky Blinders. It's like, it has this very specific...
Peaky Blinders?
You can't say the middle bit. It has this very...
Was it shot in Birmingham?
Birmingham? I don't know if it was. Very grungy feel. Yeah. So that's, you know...
well, it's a stylistic choice, isn't it? So
I haven't watched the latest episode.
They probably bought a preset, then applied it, and then just called it a day, really, you know?
That's right. Andy, I haven't watched the latest episode. It's been absolutely crazy. I haven't had a chance, but...
I still have to watch it. The Ashka, yeah?
Ashka. Ahsoka. Good.
The Star Wars lore.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to having this discussion with you after.
The JD.
Joe Vlog said Matrix used green color grading when inside the Matrix. Actually, a lot of, yes, that's true. The whole thing was filmed the grading was very green. And then the real world, quote unquote, was like not color graded in comparison. Yes, thank you. Let's not talk about Twilight. I was just mentioning it because I remember that it became the thing of like, oh, there's a Twilight filter where everything goes like very bluey green, and it was really strange. Yeah,
it's a shame that I don't fit that. You know, we can talk about Twilight, Hunger Games, Maze Runner.
We should do
and all those movies that I have never watched. I just decided not to watch
Have you
them.
read the books?
No.
Okay, thank you to Kirill for your contribution to that. I pronounced that wrong, but thank you.
Here's the thing I have about...
Wait, and thank you to Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
For your contribution to the coffee fund. Okay, what's the thing?
Hunger Games, completely ripped off. Battle Royale is a Japanese movie. Okay?
I mean...
Completely ripped it off. Like, if you have watched Hunger Games and you liked it, go watch that Japanese movie, honestly.
But you know that it was based on a book series.
Or manga or something, I guess.
No, I'm talking about...
Well, the Hunger Games, yes, but the movie came out before that.
But I do realise that, yes. Now, there's a lot of scenarios in which we could say that blah ripped off. Harry Potter, so many elements of that come out of, believe it or not, Lord of the Rings, and so many other things as well. But what I think I was going to say before was when you learn to paint, if you go to art school, for example, or even if you don't go to art school, but you just want to learn to paint.
I went to musical school.
Okay. And you learned pieces composed by other artists.
It was drilled into me.
That's right.
Hardwired so much that when I left musical school after 7 years, I asked my parents to sell the piano. I know. It scarred you for life. Since then, I have
And since then, you have not touched a piano? No, it's a shame. But with art, it's the same thing. You copy basically the masters to try and determine how they accomplished what they accomplished.
How to learn the lighting,
Exactly.
The Rembrandt lighting,
And so I think that similar with photography, you know, if you copy a photographer that you particularly admire, then you will learn how they accomplish those shots.
Yeah.
And that's the human process of learning how to do
and that's what a lot of people make to the point where like AI can just copy things.
Yeah.
You can train AI to copy one particular artist style.
Yeah.
And it will replicate this without soul, but it's going to look very similar.
That's
now,
right.
We have a lot of talk about your personal style as a photographer.
Yeah.
And you don't have a style as a photographer when you just starting. It comes from repetition, from learning different styles, learning different types of photography, you know, and then eventually becomes yours, you know, but it develops on a kind of mishmash of different things.
Yeah.
Then it becomes your own style. You know, we can't come to become like, you know, oh, this is my signature style without actually going through this process of building it and developing it.
That's right. And I think that anyone who's kind of looking at whether it's generating a piece of art for your own benefit or for an audience's benefit, the thing is to make sure that you enjoy the process and you get something and you learn something out of the process, because anyone can buy an AI-generated image for £2.50, as Bob said. What will the average customer buy? A genuine photograph for £100 or an AI-generated image of a similar scene for £2.50? I think it depends on the customer.
Yeah, but you know when the digital photography happened and then the phone starts to be really good, and that cheap, and a lot of people say, well, I can't be a photographer now because everyone has a phone and they don't want to pay for the real photography. It's the same situation.
Yeah, kind of.
You know.
Yeah, it is. It's the same with artists as well.
Yeah.
And obviously that's one thing that freaks out actors and also writers, is that the AI will basically replace us out. But as you said, I think that we are very much in the teething stages, as you said.
And it's not going to replace us. That's the thing. The true artist will stay on top. You know, that's my opinion. But realistically speaking, yes, some jobs are going to be replaced. Yeah. The average content creators are going to be replaced by AI, whoever the average content creator are, you know. And in terms of this, if you work in this field, if it's your money, then you want to invest in your self-development to become better and to produce content that is better, you know. If you're not in that professional field, but you enjoy doing what you're doing, photography, you know, writing, etc., you continue to do what you do. It doesn't affect you because you enjoy doing it. It's your passion, and just spending time doing it makes your day. That's my opinion about it.
I agree. I think that one has to get satisfaction out of the process as much as the end result. Otherwise, why are you doing it?
Exactly.
As Andy said, is it okay to be a generalist photographer, or do you have to have a style? And I think that depends on you. If you're happy to take pictures and not have a style, that's you. But I think we'll all lean towards something. And
I think what you'll notice after some time doing that you eventually will start to produce work that will kind of fit together.
Yeah.
It could be different subject, it could be different, it could be, let's say, street photography and then landscape or something. But you'll see there's certain things that connect the images together, and that's going to become your style. It will come with the time. So, you know, like whatever you think you don't have style, it's still there.
Yeah, and it will be uniquely yours, because even if you take the same image and you stand in exactly the same spot as 1,000 other photographers, the picture that you take is somehow going to be different to everyone else's.
Because we have soul and AI doesn't.
That's right. There was something that Jim Brandenburg said when he spoke at the Nikon owner event many years ago. We did a Nikon owner Christmas dinner. We used to do them on a regular basis. Unfortunately, a few years ago, they were sort of kiboshed by that whole lockdown situation.
Yeah.
But
19.
Exactly. But many years ago, he did a talk, and it was one thing that stuck with me. And he said, look, let's say you want to take pictures. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. He said, say you want to take a particular type of picture. You want to take pictures of wolves. He took pictures of walls, or you want to take pictures of trees. Like, doesn't matter if hundreds, thousands of other people have taken those pictures, because none of them are you. And I think that is something that we can all take away.
It's almost like this unseen poetry within the image that is very difficult to achieve with AI, I think, you know, because you know what you've taken and you know what it says, and that's what's very important. You know, it's one of the things where, like, we tend to find different meanings behind certain pieces of art, photography, paintings, could be even books, could be messages, when I say read through the lines, and things like this. I think at this moment, it's going to get better, of course, but AI is very literal in a way, and it will do things that you ask it to do within the set of commands that you type in.
Yeah.
And that's something that, let's say you, photographer, generating whatever comes from your soul, your brain, whatever, your heart, that happens kind of naturally within the moment, let's say that. And that's something that AI will be difficult to replicate. Again, we're starting to get into this kind of material, like a material energy thing that are unquantifiable. But if you see what I mean.
I do.
Whatever you can believe in, etc., but it's something that we are organic computer, while but digital computer is a different thing, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And on that cheery note...
Yeah, that got deep, huh?
Go out and take some pictures.
Exactly. Forget about all this nonsense.
That's right. If you want real pictures that are not AI generated, then subscribe to Nikon AI magazine.
Yeah, buy some film camera. Just kidding.
Buy some film cameras. Nikon AI. All the images are not AI generated. Each photographer is hand curated by the editor and editorial team. So
not AI.
They're not AI either, which is great. Work on your own personal projects. If you haven't submitted an image to the Portrait Challenge yet, you should definitely do that.
Great submissions so far, by the way.
It's very encouraging. Under 10 megabyte files, please, not AI generated, to media@grayswestminster.co.uk. We are very, very much looking forward to going through all your images in a few weeks' time. Yes, and Agile River says like and subscribe, everyone, up to 21K already. We are slowly but surely making it.
Creeping towards 100K.
We are creeping. I think
we are generally creepy.
Creeping isn't the right word. I mean, shuffling, I think, whatever's slower, but we're getting there eventually. So yes, please do subscribe. We hope you have a fantastic weekend all.
Good chat.
Take lots of great pictures. Thank you for all your comments, all your coffee fund contributions. We hugely appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Won't we?
Another podcast, another video, another live stream. The usual.
Just can't get rid of us.
Exactly.
Take care all. Bye.
See you next week. Bye.